And you gonna murder this one and murder that one. Talking all that bullshit. I'm gonna put it to you like this, yo.
This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me, I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What is poppin', everybody? And welcome back to another special episode of the Only Friends podcast. Well, you know, it's me and my only friends, which includes, but is not limited to, our man, Tart2! What's poppin', baby?
We back, baby.
You back in the streets?
Yeah.
Love to see it. What's
okay.
going on?
Pip is here today. You can see
Oh,
him.
bad, really bad cough, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be all right. I think I'm gonna live.
I heard
I'm
you
gonna
were
survive.
dying.
I almost died. It was close.
Yeah,
It was touch
I
and go
heard.
for a second.
Berkey kept downplaying it. He's like, he has the same thing I have.
No, I didn't.
And I'm here and
There's
he's
no
not.
chance.
You 100%.
But I know you were dying.
Berkey, you can't say 100%.
What you described was literally what I had.
No. Okay. Did you have a fever?
We
I
got
don't know.
it.
I didn't check.
Okay. Well then,
I
if
mean,
you had a fever.
I may have had a fever.
Yeah.
I
I had-
sweat.
Yep.
But look who's in the shot today.
I mean,
she's
the
over
thing
here
is
now.
that like different strands of different things have similar symptoms, and there's
So
a bunch of.
different
I'm
folks-
sure there's a bunch of shit going around. 'Cause
Well-
people from all walks of life are coming to Vegas. So the fact that you could say
All
with
walks of
such
life.
100% certainty that we had the same thing is a little ludicrous.
Tell his ass, Tortoise.
I think he had that whole thing
I mean,
prepped.
I would say so. He's been working on that one for sure.
he's
not at all.
had
I'm
3
just-
days.
I mean,
Listen.
I don't know.
The thing is too, we could have had the same thing, and it affects people differently. Sometimes, like some people
Yeah.
get COVID and they get it really bad, and some people don't. So it's like.
You don't have to explain yourself, Tortoise.
and
It's
some
fine.
people
It's fine.
drink bone broth, and
You
other
had a
people
permissible
don't.
absence.
I was down bad.
I was just asking everyone if they thought it affected you worse, or if you just thought you were expendable enough to not be here for 3 days.
Definitely expendable.
And I thought it was close. Yeah, I mean, you know, just common reasoning. We got
I'm
sick.
sweating right now.
We got sick at literally the exact same time. Both of us were congested through the gills, coughing our brains
Yeah, but
out.
mine was the Horseshoe flu, and you haven't even been to the Horseshoe yet, so.
Not sure I've been there twice. Also, giving it a fancy name doesn't change the.
I caught it in the midst of the fucking Gladiator. One of those 20,000 people gave
Yeah,
it
you
to
probably
me.
fucking gave it to me.
No. That's not how it works.
You have to be there.
Please explain to me how it works.
You'd have to be there, all right?
You had it before me.
Yeah, possibly. I mean,
At least that's what you told me.
it seemed like I was outpacing you by like 12 hours,
Yeah.
give or take. So I probably gave it to you.
Thanks.
So it's
Appreciate
actually the Bellagio flu.
Okay. Might be.
The Bellagio.
You know, what are we? Go back to your fucking workstation. What are you do? We've been looking at Lamana for the first 12 minutes of this
Or
show.
make it up for lost time, Bert.
You're
wanna
putting
see
a
the
camera on a place where the dog isn't even there.
No,
I
but
mean,
she's
like,
going to be.
I know it's Friday, but Jesus Christ,
Friday?
man. I know.
Where's
Love to
Melissa?
see it.
I'm actually impressed that you've managed a tank top every day this week.
Why?
Well, I know you have a lot of clothes. I just didn't know that.
It's summer.
Well, no, I know it's summer also. I just didn't know tank tops were a big part of your attire.
He's
I got
just
like 20 or 30
very
of them.
patriotic.
I also have a lot of clothes. I have almost no tank tops, at least not outside of gym.
Last
gym
summer, I
wear.
went on a
Oh, you had a little
tank top
moment.
binge because it was kind of hot in poker room.
Okay.
So I just bought like.
How has the weather in the Horseshoe been?
Honestly, I'm wearing tank top and
Swampy.
shorts.
Yeah,
It's
Swampy.
it's not great.
it's breeding the flu.
This is the first time that she's like moving around and
It's
shit.
giving fever vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I imagine the
she
only
misses
place
Brian.
it's really
I know.
cold is in
Come here,
the
girl.
whatever you call it, Thunderdome, I guess.
we'll never know.
I'm just mad that
I'm on my way, buddy.
I was too sick to go rail Nick,
I'm sure he's also upset about it.
and then the one time I don't go, person we're railing wins it.
That
That
may be
may
a
or may not.
correlated outcome.
Maybe I should take that as a clue.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps you're a black cloud. I'm not gonna throw that on you, Tortoise.
The reason
I'm not
why you
gonna give
haven't
that
won is
bad
because
juju.
Brian's just been there every time.
I mean, that would make a hell of a lot of sense.
Nothing that has to do with
So
ability.
many
The whole
times-
time
so
I've been
many
keeping
times-
everybody down.
So many times I've had the chip lead like at many different stages throughout the final table. Chip lead 3-handed, got third twice.
That's not
Happened
great.
in Florida, happened in the 1K, one drop.
That stinks.
Brian was there for both.
Yep.
Brian was literally the only one there for Florida.
That was.
Like, he was my ride or die.
Yep.
Wait,
And
You
also
died.
my jinx.
You died.
Wait,
Jack's right into Queens.
you were in Florida? For which one?
Oh, this was like 2017.
Long time ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
2017, the 5K of the Big Four.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
I ran Jackson to Queens for 40 with 3 left.
Yep.
Probably was a blunder.
What
Probably,
happened? Do
definitely.
you remember the
Blunder.
stacks?
I was chip leader. He was second in chips with a recreational third in chips, and
Yeah,
we got
you-
it all in.
Yeah, that's all
how
you
many,
have to say.
How many blinds did you have?
I had 40 and covered. I had 10 after the hand.
And you opened button, he 3-bet, and then you jammed?
No, I think I was small blind.
So he opened, you
I think
3-bet.
he opened button.
You 3-bet, he jammed.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was the mistake? It's good.
I don't know. I just always presume.
No, it's good.
If I didn't win the hand and they had me dominated, probably made an error.
No,
You know,
It's good.
Isn't that the way poker works?
I
Nah.
see this for poor people, man.
you got trapped.
Oh, that's what Becker thinks. Luckily for
Luckily for us.
luckily for us, we're richer because of it.
I mean,
less
he's had a couple spots already where he's made final tables and could have done some damage and didn't work out.
yeah. So have you.
Yeah.
No final table though.
No.
Wait, what else did he final table?
He final tabled
600.
the 1100 Wind Turbo for 7th or 6th, and then he got
okay.
the 600 Aria for like 6th or 7th, and then he had this one for 7th.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're at a 16K deficit,
A
which
little
is,
more actually because he cashed the Win PKO,
which hasn't started.
which hasn't
yet
started,
today.
but he gets his cash plus his money back. So if he, let's just say he min cashes, he gets plus 1500 or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not 16, it's like 20.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. I kind of made a mistake and thought that if he wins a bounty today, like the first one, he gets 10K extra, but it's only 5 because 5 goes to him as a cash and 5
Right.
goes on his stack.
KO, yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. He can't KO 3 people and win 30K, but he can KO 3 people and maybe win 15. That's kind of annoying.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
He has to make it to the top 100 first.
obviously we have an anti-sweat.
He loves it, by the way. He thought, like, at the beginning of the summer, he was like, "Oh man, like, I hope we both have really good summers." I'm like, I hope you do well, but like, I just win a little more. And I was like, oh, like, he's at FT of this Venetian. He's like, oh, like, you win for your 3rd yet? Well, I'm on dinner break at the Win. I'm like, don't you have other things to worry about?
Well,
Do you want my honest opinion before we watch this video? Because I think we should watch the video.
I mean, I don't give a shit.
Do you want my honest opinion?
I mean, you want to give it? You're fiending.
I'm genuinely asking you because I feel like you know, in some way, shape, or form, you get to control the ultimate narrative. But I have an opinion of this.
I mean, I would say that myself and the audience definitely want to hear it.
I mean, I don't give a shit.
All
What
right,
do I care?
let's watch the video first, and then I'll tell you what I think.
He went from giving his opinion to the video.
Every time I check my phone, he's rebuying, so not even a fun anti-sweat. He's never in the tournament. So
This Becker picking up his cash.
not enough. I flatted off 23 bigs, ace queen suited versus the chip leader. Came 10 high, 10-8-3, I believe. I called a bet, turned king, just like super nervous. I called him for a brick, for an 8 actually. Put me in. If he was bluffing, he was bluffing with a better hand, and if he wasn't bluffing, then he got me. So he had 9-10, so he flopped top pair. Could have just folded and for sure got 2 more pay jumps probably. Everyone's like big on the ICM. Yeah, I just wanted to win.
Meanwhile, Tice over there firing all the
He's
bullets.
on like 14 bullets over there, no bag, hasn't even sniffed the money. Like he's barely making dinner breaks, so I don't know. Hopefully he makes some sort of run today. Gives me a little sweat. Every time I check my phone, he's rebuying. So not even a fun
Hey, I
answer.
did make dinner break. It
Shots
was
fired.
I did make dinner break just to max it.
Okay, that's fun for what it's worth.
Yeah,
that banter is fun.
Yeah, it's good.
As somebody who has done his fair amount of shit talking and been shit talked a fair amount myself, I gotta tell you, I feel like bro's covering for something.
it reeks fear.
Yeah. I feel like he's cracking a little, man. You know, like when you're just the superior person in a 1v1 type of dynamic, especially when the other person is not shit talking you, there isn't really much inclination to like dunk on that person for your little tiny wins. And like at the end of the day, this is more of a miss than a hit, right? Like you're at a final table where first is 100K, you can really, it's worth 200 to you. You can kind of bury us, and you get a disappointing 16K finish. It's like, you know, I just feel like that coupled with the public scrutiny of the Jack 4 offhand, where it's like, what are we doing here, man? Like this hand history, flatting ace queen, in the same vein of saying ICM is for poor people, he flats ace queen off versus a hijack open.
Apparently it was ace queen suited, but
even worse.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out to the other Jeremy that busted him. We had Platt out in the field with 11 left. He didn't get the fucking job done for us, but to be fair, he's biased. He drafted Becker, so I understand little colluding against. But shout out to the other Jeremy. He hit us with a tweet and said, "You're welcome, Landon Tyson, solve for why." This is actually Matt Hunt's student, so he ride or dies for us.
Yeah.
He's out there like, he's like, man, should I go thin for the value with the 10 on the river? Yeah, fuck it, we ball. He's like, we got to get this man out of here. We rolling. So big shout out to him. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, from like an outsider's perspective, these hand histories are fucking nightmares. Like you can't feel good about laying 1.15 on this guy when you're reading him yeeting it off with Jack 4 off, which is just like a pure fold out of the big, and then like, you know, calling down, like stationing down ace queen high off of 23, which is just like a pure induce or jam get in pre. It's like ICM maybe for poor people, but like, you know, there's a lot of money that we're not having to pay because you choose to stay poor. And then like, you know,
poor is a choice.
Right, poor is a choice at this point. It's like when you make like a Drake style beef video, it's just like, what are we doing?
I told I was telling Landon it was before you got here off air that
there's sniff dinner break yet.
That this like, and there's no like, I'm not comparing, you know, Becker to Airball. They're completely different people. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, that's rude to Becker.
Right, of course.
Sweet kid.
I would never do that to him. But it was when I watched that, it was giving off the vibes of, remember when in the midst of your match with Airball, when he had that one big victory and they were popping champagne and spraying all over each other like they just won the whole match and everything, and there wasn't a whole bunch more poker to play. It was giving off that kind of vibe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like,
I was like, you know, there's a long summer left. Like,
right, like I feel like when you understand that you're a dog at something, you really latch on to small wins and you really try to amplify them because it's probable that the ultimate outcome is going to be a negative one for you. So you want to have your wins along the way that kind of like lighten the blow a little bit. And yeah, you're right. The Airball thing, that was fucking hilarious.
Right.
He had literally one winning weekend the entire match.
Team Airball, baby. Woo. Atsushi Samba. 3 weeks later.
Man. Popping dog. Oh my God, that's so good. Like if we could have had the meme back then of the 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
Him with an apology.
Right?
Like, heads up sucks, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think if I was in that spot, like final table, and then I got 7th and made a mistake, I would not be very happy about it. And I definitely wouldn't be like, oh man, like what's Becker up to? I'd be like, oh fuck, like I just missed an opportunity here.
I mean, he probably doesn't think it's a mistake, which is fine. Everybody has their own style, and you're welcome to play how
like
you play.
Like he posted like, oh, like this one's on me, guys. Like I made a mistake. Like I called off and was wrong.
Yeah, but he probably thinks like the river call is the error, not the flat pre.
Not the stuff prior. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just more so the difference in like how we see the game versus like how we see the spot.
Yeah,
and also like it's so early, man. Like these tournaments in some regards not that they don't mean much because they could have, right?
They matter if you hit if you win an outlier,
like top 3 if you win. But like the big things that are going to matter more are like the 10Ks.
You have
right?
like
the win
3 or 4
10Ks,
10Ks. You have the win 10K, the 6 max, the mystery bounty, the main event. I think that there's maybe one other one I'm not remembering off the top of my head.
Pain if I don't at least make day 2 or 3 of the main and he's still in.
It won't be a fun sweat.
That will not be fun.
No, but like at least you know that
I mean, you know it's capped at 250.
Like it's a day.
The worst that could happen is he gets top 50. Like,
I mean, it's annoying, but it's like you have to like day 7's a long way away from like cashing on day 3.
It's true.
You know what I mean?
Which 10Ks are you playing?
I mean,
obviously the main.
Every 10K that I'm allowed to play that's not Poker Go. So Poker Go doesn't count for the bet.
Right.
Okay.
We took those away because at some point, like if you really wanted to, you can just max fire those.
I didn't even realize Poker Go was going.
They had a couple. They have a couple, like 4.
I see.
So it's not like this huge
But
thing.
how many 10Ks are there? There's the 6 max, there's the main, there's the win.
The win, the mystery bounty.
There's a mystery. There's like a
secret bounty.
And then there's a
secret bounty,
10K
right.
like turbo freeze out at some point.
So there's like 5 or 5.
There's like
maybe.
4 or 5.
4 or 5 of them. Yeah, well, it's funny because like you're down about 20K right now, and
just like 2 buy-ins in
right.
these tournaments.
It's just like if you say you play a 10K, you cash and he doesn't, it's even.
Right. So like
that's all that would take to make this match even.
And
again.
it's not even like these things
It's
aren't
not a lot.
that
Like
difficult.
a min cash and a not cash.
Yeah, like I min cash and get 10K. He bricks it, and we both play 1 bullet, and then it's like a 20K swing.
Right.
So like these numbers really don't matter, and like this is kind of like, oh, okay, if someone has like a really sick score or like a deep run, then like maybe there's a sweat. Like call it making final 5 tables of the 6 max. Like that was like a big sweat for like anti-sweat for him, and a huge sweat for us. And winning that tournament would have capped out the book plus the 100K bracelet bonus. So like that would have been a huge one to get done, and there was actually like a real chance. But call it couple hundred left in a tournament, or like Jeremy winning this one for 100, like it would be annoying, and it's like, oh, okay, like they get like a big W, but at the same time it's not something that's like not comebackable. I suppose
it's almost like someone's gonna have to have a 6-figure score to make this a
for sure
meaningful
bare minimum. Someone needs that, either that or else you have to cash a ton.
Cash a ton, and the other person just never cashes.
Bricks everything.
Look, it's very easy to map this out. Like we know, or we can estimate what their buy-ins are going to be, and between the two of them, you're looking at like somewhere between 150 and 200K worth of buy-ins. So bare minimum, a 6-figure score just like gets you to hover around 0.
Yeah.
You know? So like in order for this to be interesting, as far as like, is that Pip?
Yeah. She's going off right now.
She's hungry. She's moving a bowl around.
I fed her right before we came. This is unbelievable.
I was like, who's downstairs?
Let her have a good time. So in order for this to be like a huge disparity, not only does it take a 6-figure score on one side, but it takes no 6-figure scores on the other.
Right.
And now the disparity you're talking about is like the difference between like minus 75 and 0, minus 100 and plus 15, you know, something like that. So like, yeah, this is really a testament of who grinds and performs. And it's like, you know, it's easy to say this hasn't really been that much of a sweat, but that's not true. Like yesterday was a sweat. He wins that. That's a big upper hand.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't like solidify the summer. No. Like I think that's where people are gravely misunderstood, is that with the cap being what it is, barring winning a bracelet in a mutually played event, one victory is not going to put this thing out of reach.
Right.
Right. But like shipping a bracelet and getting that 100K bonus because it's mutually played, that's nice. Like taking a 350K lead, now it might take a score in a 10K in order to make it competitive. You know, so this thing's definitely still up for grabs. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of like a half dozen buy-ins above 5K, like 5K and above. There's still going to be a bunch of 3,500s on the schedule, and then a ton of volume still at like the 1K to 2K buy-in range, which, you know, those are the ones that are like quote unquote makeup eaters.
Legit, right?
Like,
you get 5th, and it's like, oh, I'm not stuck for the summer anymore.
Right. But also, like, you ship one, and you just hit the cap.
And you're like, goddamn.
Yeah. So it's like...
Depending on the venue, of course.
I just feel really good about all of this because it's like the hand histories I'm seeing are in events that I think Landon has big edges in, like, you know, 1600s, 2Ks, 3Ks, whatever. And a lot of Becker's scores seems to be coming from, like, the 1 and 2 day, like, almost daily pools where first isn't that much money.
I mean, his final tables were the Venetian 1100, which was this one for 7th, a 600 one day at the Aria, and then an 1100 turbo at the Win.
Right. So none of those three can hit the cap.
They cannot.
That makes me feel so much more confident, right?
Well,
It's like that's where he's making, if that's where he's earning his keep, then we're just earning multiples because when Landon makes deep runs, it's in events where you're always going to hit the cap with a win, if not a top 3.
Yeah, I mean, like just for record's sake, like I got 20 whatever in the 1500 six max for 18.5. And that was for like 20 somethingth, right?
Yeah.
That wasn't for like 12th or like a final table result, you know? So it's just like, okay, like in these spots or like the deeper runs, like they're going to mean more when you can actually win plus cap, especially in a bracelet bonus kind of event.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't really know the future of this stuff, but I'm assuming like obviously Daniel's side and like they think they have the best of it, like we think we have the best of it. Like maybe we just kind of change it. That's not for this summer, but for next one. Of like if we both just mutually play the event and win for like a bigger than 250K first place. Did she bring up the bowl? Oh my God, she brought the bowl. She's hungry as hell.
No,
man.
she's thirsty. That's her water bowl.
I see. That's so
incredible.
Funny. She brought it up the stairs.
She's so smart.
She's smart, but then she pooped in the house.
Right. Like
Conrad is crawling under the
honestly,
camera. Right?
I think the poop in the house is a spite thing. Like she does it when I'm not home, or like last night I went to bed really early. I went to bed at like 9, so I just kind of let her roam the house, and she comes barreling in my room through the doggy door at like I don't know 1 a.m. just like a bullet, man. Just like boom through the door.
Water just all down her mouth.
I'm just like. You know, it's like 1 a.m. I just like shoot up from like I'm being robbed, and it's just her. Her paws are wet. She's been like playing in the sprinkler. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Ready with the
She's been
baseball.
completely on one at night.
Right, but at that point, she's probably been like, you know, mad that because she won't paw at my door. She'll either find a way in by going like outside and then through the doggy door, or she'll just accept her fate of not coming in. And I think she gets mad at me whenever she chooses the latter. So she just spends like hours shitting around the house. Like, oh, you're not gonna let me in your room? All right, well, I'll show you.
Man, she's really grown. Like I haven't seen her in a week, and I was like, what the hell? Like it's noticeably different.
She doesn't seem that much bigger to me.
No, she doesn't because
she's bigger than Scout.
That's
because
you see her every day, and you don't
Yeah.
notice the difference, right? It's gradual, but when you don't see her for a week or week and a half or whatever it was,
yeah,
it's very noticeable.
She is definitely bigger than Scout now. And
oh yeah, for sure.
I think Scout's starting to become aware of it. She follows her around like a shadow, and like Scout just doesn't want anything to do with it. Like she gets so snippy with her. Man,
it's ironic though. Like before the beginning of the summer, we were like maybe like Seward versus Becker is more fair.
If only.
Right.
Well, to be fair, we wouldn't have got the bracelet bonus. I don't think Becker played the 3K.
He did not play this one. He played the 1100 instead.
That's wild, man. How do you pass on a 3K 6 match? Like if you're good at tournament poker, that's fucking a bullet point on your summer.
The 3K not turbo 6 max.
Not labeled a turbo, but definitely turbo structure 6 max. What was the average stack at final table? Like
20 blinds.
19?
I mean, yeah, it was not great, right? For FT, the chip stacks was Coleman 60, Costa with 20, Nick with 19, and then 10, 8, 6. So like, there's just not that many chips left in play.
And then nobody busted forever.
And then nobody busted for 2 hours.
Got short.
Yeah, it was crazy. Just every all-in did not go the way of the people that wanted money.
Speak for yourself. We got to give huge props to Timestamp Bro.
And then it went for him.
Let's go,
Let's go, baby.
Very good at all-ins on that special
Closes
day.
it out. You know how hard it is to close it out?
I mean, not for him.
No.
He didn't get his money in good one goddamn
Didn't
time.
need to.
It's just like
There's always a river.
it was destined for him.
Man.
So
Look
I'm
at
officially
that.
accepting his resignation, even though he hasn't offered it to me. I think we're going to be without timestamps for quite some time. We are taking new applications for Timestamp Bro Future. I don't know what we really, you'll get small pay and then potentially win a bracelet in your first 2 years.
Fair.
Seems like a fair exchange. Anybody there who feels a little hungry and wants to get in those streets, just drop us a little line. Yeah, the timestamp streets. Drop us a little line.
Timestamp Bro 2.0.
I was trying to get him here for his official exit interview on air, but I think he was too busy out with the big booty mamacitas last night.
Yeah, it's all right.
Spearmint Rhino.
Hope so. I said, buddy, take a day, enjoy this. Have your moment. They don't come around all that often.
He probably went home to study Sims and get ready for the monster.
Yeah, he goes, I'll take a beat, but I'm probably gonna get it after again tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you can max 1A of the monster. You can just have a pool day, lay around, take a nap, maybe.
Go yourself.
Right? Just you and the mamacita from the night before.
And
maybe a
bracelet.
brunch, if you will.
A
Little
brunch.
floaty in the pool. Hanging out on the flamingo. You know, just like have a day. Have a little staycation.
Right.
Having a day is day 1A of the monster stack for
You
him.
young kids are fucking sick, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like,
We were kind of like that.
we wanted to press the positive momentum and everything else too, but like also we fucked around. And we
Found out.
We found out.
would miss a 1A here and there
Yeah.
to have a night of debauchery.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully Timestamp Bro is still in bed, sleeping it off, enjoying his spoils. What a wild final table.
Crazy.
Yeah, he ran so great.
He ran really great, which is a big skill to hold in those spots. Couple like really interesting hands. There was one hand, I think with 5 left, it created a lot of debate in our chat. And it's one of those hands where it's just like, well, once your opponent kind of disobeys all of his incentives, you're kind of just out on a limb. And it almost doesn't matter what you do at that point because everybody's freestyling from this point on. But this was with 5 left. Everybody was like 15 bigs effective. I think Nick was maybe second in chips at this point. He had like 9.8 million, which I think was like 17 blinds or 15 blinds, 16 blinds, something like that. And was on the button. Hijack opened off of like 8 million, which I think was like 14 bigs. Nick had ace jack off on the button. He went with the 4.5 big blind 3-bet. And I think that like at this point, you're only expecting jam or fold. Like, you know,
Right.
pretty short stack.
Comes in with the flat, though.
What hands can call? Especially in like a high pressured ICM spot like this where most stacks are pretty symmetrical. You know, you either like have a hand where you're just like, this is a little uncomfortable, but like we're all in. Or, well, this sucks. Can't believe I'm giving up king, queen suited here, but like, you know, we fold. No, my man hit him with a flat. And then from there, it was just like, what do we do? So it came 10 high, 10-9 high, went check, which I think is pretty reasonable.
2 clubs, I believe. On
Yeah, 2 clubs. Turner's an offsuit ace. Nick has ace jack, no club. Checks him again, and the SPR is like 1.2. I was arguing that like I would just check back again because I don't really think we extract much value from a flatting range. And I'm worried that we're dominated. Like I'm worried that there's some ace 10 suited. I'm worried that there's ace queen in that range.
Yeah.
I'm worried he might have missed a jam with ace king sometimes.
Wow.
Or maybe he's trapping aces.
I feel like ace king is just a layup, get it in.
It should be, but I think the same about ace queen, to be quite frank. I think the same about jacks. I think the same about queens and you know, 10s. But like when you see a flat, what is it?
It's always ace queen. It's just always ace queen.
Like Landon and I had a big debate about this, and what
like
I said is, so we had a big debate about this, and what I took away was I think the hands that are most likely to flat off of that stack in a spot where you basically play no flats are the bottom of your jam range. The ones that feel just a little bit too uncomfortable to shove, not the top of your folding range. And I think Landon, I don't want to speak for you, you can kind of chime in, but I think you think it's the opposite. I think you think it's mostly the top of your folding range that this player was just like being stubborn about. So a lot more of like the suited Broadway type shit.
Well, that is the bottom of the jam range in this spot.
You jam king 10?
I mean, if he has 14 bigs, he probably just jams king jack suited pre versus min raise.
Once you min raise.
Right. So once you min, I want to try to go back and find the thing I said in the moment. But my read would be like hands like king 10 suited, king jack suited, like ace jack off probably finds a fold. Like I would assume that ace queen doesn't play flat.
Yeah. So I think that's where you and I disagree with our assessment.
Like I think it would jam versus call because like you're handicapped. It's like, well, this hand's too good.
That's because you're really good at theory.
Well, I mean, you also just have an ace and a queen. Right, so like it just imagine. It just depends on how you value the hand.
Well, let
right?
me ask you this: what would Becker do
with ace queen?
Well, just in general.
I think he'd jam in this spot.
Yeah.
I think he'd jam ace queen for 14.
Okay, fair.
He'd be like, oh, like I know Nick. Like Nick's bluffing enough. Like, what am I gonna do?
All right, that's unfair. There's like history and stuff there. I'm trying to equate. I can't remember what the player's name was that was in
Maeda.
Yeah, Maeda. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to equate like his style of play from everything I saw. I'm not saying that he's unstudied. I doubt that he's. I'm sure that he's like familiar with theory and.
Well, that's the issue,
somewhat
right? Because if
constructed.
someone is like very aware, they're not going to play this spot in this
That's
in this
my
manner.
point. Is I don't think he's very aware.
Right? Like I said, like other guy being him is supposed to have like king jack suited, king 10 suited, king queen suited, ace jack suited, ace queen off, like pairs that he's not supposed to flat, like sevens. Like maybe these hands play call instead of jam, right? But if you think that ace queen plays call, now it's like okay, we can get value on the end from these things. And I was talking to Nick about this like after the hand was over and like he decompressed and I'm like, what do you think about the ace jack spot? He just goes, yeah, like I think this guy's missing the suited broadways and ace x suited rejams and he's probably gonna play call too much, so we'll have more flushes than theory would suggest, and thought he would never pay ace queen. So like he thought even if he has ace queen, he's gonna
talking
fold
about the
it.
river. You're talking about the river spot. I'm talking about the turn.
Sure, like
I
you
think,
bet the turn on an ace?
I think betting the turn is like far too thin. Because I think that you're offering too much assumption to him having such a wide range of hands that aren't very incentivized to VPIP through a call. Whereas basically all I'm saying is that we're looking at the spot through a different lens. My experience with players who miss jams is that they miss with the bottom of the jamming range. And that those hands tend to be incredibly strong, right? So it's going to be the ace queen, it's going to be the ace jack suited, hands that were just meant to be all in, that they missed it. Your experience is that players are too wide. So it's actually the top of the folding range or missed jams, like missed open jams.
Yeah.
Like king, queen, king 10, queen 10, jack 10, shit like that.
Why can't it be both?
I think it's pretty difficult for it to be both.
Well, if it's both,
it's too inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's like way too incongruent with how you would construct ranges.
Because somebody is either going to play this spot in a way that doesn't play flats, or they're going to have flats.
Well, more specifically, it's because if you have ace queen, aka you're missing the bottom of your 4-bet jam range, and you're now choosing to flat it, it means that you're too risk averse, right? So you're playing too conservatively, which means you're never going to have all of this other shit that does not belong in even a raising range necessarily, let alone a raise calling range, right? Now, if you have all this other shit and not ace queen, then what it means is you're probably going to be quite aggressive in your either 4-bet jam response or your open jam response.
You might just open jam.
Right. So it's like almost impossible for there to be overlap between the way that this person's constructing a calling range. And that's kind of the beauty of this, is that a call range just doesn't exist here as anything good. Right. So it's like call error. Call equals error. Okay. So we know that. But like, how is this error being constructed? And that we have no vision over whatsoever.
Right, because the same person that calls might just have the hands that I think exist, and now it's like, okay, if we're going off that assumption and the turn's an ace,
you have to bet.
You have to bet because he has a lot of hands that just
value
auto
equity.
fold.
Some of them pay.
He has worse hands sometimes, you know, and then he might, even if Nick has ace,
and you're never dominated.
Right.
Right.
You shouldn't be.
Right.
You shouldn't be.
Well, you could run into the occasional ace 10, but like you just shouldn't be in general.
And even then, right, with the way the board kind of came out, like, well, in the turn, there was one combo of ace 10 left, I think. It was just ace 10 of clubs.
Correct. Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, with my combo, there's one hand that beats me, and ace queen should have jammed pre. So here we are with the best hand.
Right.
Because ace king is always going to find a way to be all in.
Right. So now, like, if you get check jammed on, you're just like, okay, he has too much queen jack or king 10 of clubs or whatever the case may be.
Yeah,
right?
if he got jammed on, he probably just like angry pays because he doesn't expect ace queen. He's just like, I haven't, this is near top.
Correct. Where I'm coming from a different perspective, where it's like, I think he's just probably missing jams with like ace jack suited, ace queen, maybe every now and again, if he massively overvalues ICM, he has ace king here. So my thought process is I don't get value from worse, and I just want to keep this pot small and manageable and check back, which would then have allowed me to get river value when the river was a jack of clubs, right? But in either way, you get one street,
It's very ugly when the entire basis of your strategy is predicated on do they have ace queen off or not.
Yeah. Right. And that's
the entire hand.
And you can see that like how
and he had it.
How either person interprets the spot is going to drastically sway the incentives of post flop strategy.
It's very ugly because like Nick could be right in the sense of ace queen off doesn't exist that much, but he sees it in this moment. So he's like, did I just make a blunder? Versus your assumptions of, oh, he only has ace queen off.
Well,
and
the
then
beauty is
check back river jack.
The beauty is he did not get check jammed on with the turn bet.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
and
he probably has to jam the turn with his queen.
Has to. It's like not even remotely close.
Like this is top of your range.
That kind of, to me, even further solidified in my mind that like he's just playing the spot way too conservatively. So we're just never seeing these Broadway combos. But again, that's after the fact. So we learn things as we go.
Yeah,
right?
you can't know things. And that's the thing. Like when you're Nick in this spot, you don't see the guy's ace queen. You see two random cards. And you're like, I have an ace. This is great for my 3-bets because all of my 3-bet bluffs have an ace.
If he was getting fed hands, though, which I assume that he was, he had made some conservative plays prior. So there was a spot where Nick opened off of 9.8 million, I think, under the gun.
Off of big blind being what?
I don't remember, but Nick was basically like second or third in chips with like 20 plus, like 20-ish.
Okay.
So it might have been like 500K big blind. Nick opens min from what is equivalent to the hijack, I guess, because they're 5-handed.
Yeah.
Folds around to, sorry, what was the guy's name? Maeda. Folds around to him in the small blind, and the big blind is short. The big blind has like, I don't know, maybe 8 or 9 blinds.
So many people are so short.
Yeah. So the big blind has like 8 or 9 blinds, and he just has ace 10.
Ace 10 suited?
No, ace 10 off.
Okay.
And he just seemed like very unsure. And to be fair, like I'm unsure too.
I think it's a 3-bet or fold.
I think my instinct would be that like this is our 3-bet bluff.
It's a nice one. Not all the time, but some of the time.
Sure.
And then ace jack off probably plays 3-bet or fold because I think jam is also too scary. And then ace queen off, you're just
jam.
like,
yeah.
I find, ironically enough, ace queen off. You're like, well, I have ace and a queen.
Right.
like,
yeah. So like he pretty quickly just folded the ace 10 off there. And basically gave up a spot where he was, which with ICM being what it was, maybe that's just absolutely
just
correct.
reasonable.
But if he's being fed these hands, that can start to build a bit of an arc.
It just depends on like, is he considering 3-bet folding, or is he just like, oh nope, hand bad, I'm out.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
there's a difference in like how do you see the spot? Because like you look at someone like Sam or someone like Coleman, they're gonna be like, okay, do I want to mix this spot and be aggressive,
correct,
or do I just want to give it up?
And that's the other thing that easily could have swayed Nick's decision in this ace jack spot is that so if he wasn't being fed these hands, he doesn't know that like this ace 10 is getting mucked and a couple other spots were a little bit conservative. But what he did see was that blind versus blind, he called a 4 big blind jam with 9-4 off.
Yeah.
It's like that's probably just a big blunder.
Yeah,
like that's just too loose,
I
right?
have no idea, right? Because it might be loose in ICM for ICM, but then like with future game, because the tournament still exists, maybe you just like, okay, like this really sucks, but like equity is equity. So I don't know, like I just don't have an answer because I'm not going to be like, oh, of course it's a fold.
Yeah, I mean, we could get one and run it. It's just I'm again, I have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
That just stood out to me as loose.
I wouldn't be thrilled. That's for sure.
He wasn't thrilled. I'm not saying he high-fived the guy and called with 9-4 high.
Of course, but like, what I mean.
I'm just more so saying that like as somebody watching who's not well versed in these ICM spots, that stood out to me as like feeling like it's pretty loose.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
But maybe with big blind ante, it's just like in any 2 spot.
Yeah, because like maybe like 9-6, you're like, okay, this sucks, but I'm in. And then like
9-6, I would feel pretty good. Okay,
right.
about.
So then like you kind of like work your way back down because like 9 deuce off, you're probably like, I can't call this one.
Right.
So like you just kind of keep going up until you're like, where's my bottom?
Yeah.
And I guess he assumed that 9-4 off was that because I think 9-3 off he would fold, I would imagine.
Yeah, it probably also just comes down to like, I'm not that sure, and it's only 3 more blinds.
Right.
so
That's
it's
probably what
just,
happened.
Yeah.
It's like I don't need that much equity here, and the tournament still exists. But in a one-off spot, I would imagine it folds with ICM, and you saw a lot of this actually, like in Nick's final table, Showman, where people made some plays where in a one-off instance, like if the tournament ends after that hand, you make a big fold. But if you run future game because the tournament still runs, you play so much wider.
Right.
Otherwise, Nick just gets to ravage every single spot with all the chips.
Yeah.
So it really is dependent on like how you view the game and things along those lines.
It was a very interesting final table. So that ace jack hand bailed Nick out, Seward. He would have been down to like 10 bigs had he lost that one. And that's assuming that, river does go check, which I guess even on a brick, it probably does. Like ace queen just missed the opportunity to be all in twice.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, ace jack might just find a way to find river value on a deuce. It just depends if you think the guy has ace queen or not. Because he might have checked because he thinks he does have ace queen.
But it's still the same thing, right? Like what pays?
Right. Like if the guy has like non-believing king 10 suited, right? But
that's greedy.
It's just like who knows?
Yeah. I mean, if you think that king 10 doesn't believe on a brick, you should probably think that ace queen, if it exists, doesn't believe on the jack.
On any card, right? Because it's just like, I have an ace and a queen. This is top.
Yeah. So like, I think his check down when the river's a jack of clubs probably indicates he was going to check down on, the deuce of spades, but maybe not. Maybe he just gets totally fucked and has like 3 blinds after that hand.
Right?
We'll never know.
Because he got the good one.
That's the beauty of it. He found the J ball, the Jack of Rooney. There was only 2 left in the deck. Just want to throw that out there too. He won the whole tournament, very similar fashion. Got it in almost dead even in chips. I think he had him covered by a blind and a half.
Yeah, not even. I don't think.
Yeah, it was like. It was like 100K.
It might have been a small blind.
Right.
Yeah, or less.
So he got in Jack 10 suited versus King 10 off on 10-9 high, I think.
Yeah, it was 10-9 deuce, and
Turn
it
queen.
went limp check, bet, c-bet, check raise, all in call.
Yeah.
So they're all in on flop.
Yeah.
Turn queen.
Turn queen. Hello. 7 outs. 1 time. King of clubs right on the river. Let's fucking roll, baby. That's how Timestamp Bro does it.
That's how he does it.
He scammed Coleman. He's like, oh, you're my good friend? Yeah. Scam. Scam.
I'm all in again. You have 7s? Scam.
You got it in against him twice behind and just went left.
You have to.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I will say this. I don't want to be like hypercritical of people who are in a position to like be on the mic and do commentary and stuff along those lines. Because it's like everybody's trying their best. Nobody's out there doing a bad job on purpose or anything like that. But the tone of the commentary last night was so hypercritical of every play that was made. And it was like almost so results oriented where it's like, oh my God, I can't believe you got it in bad again. And like, they're talking about like M theory and all this other, it's just like, hey, it's okay to do commentary and not be a world beater.
Yeah.
You don't have to pretend. Like when Lon and Norm get in the booth, they don't sit there and start talking about like ICM models and
it's not their lane.
Geosizing and all, right? They just get it. They stay in their lane. They say, hey, my ex-wife would really love that 3-bet. And you know what? That's just fine because that's the brand that we're expecting when Lon and Norm are in the booth. And it's like yesterday, it just felt like every single decision was like, oh, well, that's a pretty conservative one. I wouldn't have chosen that route. Or what are we doing here? Why is this moving so slow? Like we can all either just like fold our way to 5th or we can gamble it up. It's like,
well, that's the thing, right? Is not everybody can fold their way to 5th because somebody must get 5th, and you don't want it to be you.
Right.
So you're trying to fold not the 5th.
Right. Like when stacks are that close, like you're playing the I don't want to finish 5th game, not I'm trying to win the tournament game.
Right. And that's the difference between money versus bracelet. Because it kept being like, oh, in a bracelet event, like I'm trying to go for the win. Where it's like, well, you're going to lose a lot of money in that process.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like I feel like we've done a pretty great job of highlighting like excellent commentary throughout the week. And I mean, obviously I'm watching my friend play too. So it's like frustrating to hear him get criticized every single decision that he makes when it's like I know how hard this kid works and he just knows. He knows this spot.
It's like, how much time have you put into studying this spot? And it's okay for your answer to be 0. Mm-hmm. But like act like that.
Right.
Like and that's just the difference between like, call it like skilled commentators in the booth that like know how tough these spots actually are and like the uncertainty of it all. Where it's like, oh, like I got 9-4 off. Like, of course we got to gamble. It's only 3 bigs.
I mean, to be fair though, and I know I'm coming full circle of both like laying the criticism and now defending them, but I think in years past, a lot of times when people were asked to do commentary, they were doing it at a table where it was like 7 unknowns, 6 of which were recreationals, 1 of which was the clear favorite, which would have been like David Coleman yesterday. Mm-hmm. So you just always show deference to the clear favorite, and then you just like navigate the 6 amateurs throwing shit at one another. And in that instance, you do tend to be a bit more of an authority as the person in the booth, because someone along the way decided like you know enough about poker to give you the mic, right? But in this instance, when it's like 6 really good players where Coleman's just the most elite of the 6, it doesn't work. Like, you can't throw me in the booth there and expect me to add anything outside of like, these guys are playing great.
Right. You just defer to Coleman.
I would just defer to every play that's made. It's like, oh, Nick decided to check down that ace jack there. I got to tell you, I probably would have jammed for value, but I don't know that I'm right.
Yeah, but I don't fucking know. I can see he's got an ace and a queen. So
right,
of course
it's like I'm looking at the graphics, man. Like, all I know is I don't think that flat was heavily incentivized pre, and it happened. So we're just freestyling now, baby. And whatever happens, I'm just going to assume
there's an ace on a turn, and I see he has ace queen. It's like, I'm checking ace jack.
I'm just going to assume these guys are making good decisions. And I think that's a fair way to approach it. That was what I enjoyed most about like Brent and Jesse's commentary with the deuce to 7. Was that they just went in there with like such a humble attitude to begin with.
Yeah. Brent was like, I don't know. I have no idea how to play this game.
Which he clearly does. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't know how to play it at an elite level.
Right.
But he knows how to play it better than me, the viewer.
That's the big idea, right? It's like, I know how the game works, but I don't know better than the people that are playing, because they're playing for the most part. And I'm just here to tell you how good they are.
Yeah. Just highlight everything, right?
Like, there was a spot to be handed where, I forget who was in third, but third place goes all in for like, Maeda. Maeda goes all in for like, call it all in -3 bigs with king jack off. And then Seward has ace jack off in the small blind, just making sure stacks are what they are. Yeah. And then like in the commentary, I think it's Clayton. It's like Clayton and Tuck. Yeah. And he just goes like, if he folds ace jack here, like I'm putting my headphones down and walking out of the booth. Yeah. And it's like, all right, like this isn't very helpful.
Right.
Right.
Right. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. I don't want to shit on anybody. Like, that wasn't my intention of bringing it up. It's just I do think that when there's however many of these televised events, 30 plus, and a lot of random people will get their opportunity to get on the mic, I really think it's important to like bolster up the people playing.
I'm also just more annoyed because like obviously I know how hard Seward works. Like I met Seward at the academy 2 years ago. Like I knew that he was playing like small stakes online MTTs and got good through using like Wizard database and just running a bunch of spots, looking at a lot of things. And then like we started getting into ICM work with HRC and ICM post and looking at a bunch of different spots like for hours upon end for like the commentary to be like, I think he's playing scared. Yeah. It's like, no, absolutely not. Like he played a huge pot with Coleman that wasn't streamed where like he kind of went off on a limb because he had infinite chip lead. And then Coleman had a set. He had 3-4 of diamonds on 10-8, 10-8-6. He leads. So it's like very studied players know that this isn't even allowed, let alone to do it in game when you're not sure versus one of the best players in the world and definitely like at final table to be like, oh, like he's just playing for fifth. It's like, you have no idea.
It feels reductive, if that's the right word.
Well, it is, right? It is,
yeah.
And it's annoying when it's like, I know how hard he works. I know how hard he studies.
It's also
let's not do that.
Yeah, it also just feels like an attempt to like prop up the commentary over the players. It's like they're there, and I very luckily learned this the hard way, and I say luckily because I think I was just fortunate enough to get it right, not because it was a choice or, I mean, maybe I was lucky to have like good influences because I was with Lon specifically in this instance. But I remember doing a 5K broadcast. This must have been like 2016 or 2017. And a recreational from Boston got heads up versus a very, very skilled pro. And the recreational was like, doing rec things. He wasn't playing perfect heads up.
Like folding some buttons.
Right. And I think what allowed me to get lucky in this instance was Lon is always trying to keep things pretty light and highlight people. And then B, I was no heads up expert myself. So I'm just kind of like watching it all play out. And all that was going through my head while doing the commentary, whether I agreed with his plays or not, is that his family's watching. And it's just like, okay, well, let's just do the right thing and like just spotlight or like highlight his victories. And then do the same for the opposite player, right? Like, there's really no reason to go down a training video rabbit hole here. Right. That's not your purpose as the analyst. And the only reason I even bring this story up is because I ran into him later in the summer, and he like went out of his way to like find me in a crowd and thank me for his commentary because like his family was watching, and he ended up winning the bracelet. So it was like a huge thing. Like, this is something he'll play for his kids in the future. Now imagine like winning that bracelet and every like 30 seconds. Why are the commentators asking that why are they saying that you're playing scared? Didn't you win this event?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
now you have to explain to your kids that this guy's an idiot. Jesus.
Well, I mean, I just think like we have to take a page out of sports. It's like you see people fail all the time on the field, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever. Like there are people that are notably making errors, missing blocks, striking out, missing their assignment in hockey, not in the right space or whatever. The analyst never harps on that. They may point it out. They may say like
missed the spot there.
Oh, the left tackle missed his block here, and that's what allowed this play to get blown up, right? So all they're doing is pointing out the obvious, but it's never like, man, that guy doesn't fucking belong in the league.
Retire.
You know who's really good at?
I was there.
I don't know how to call it. I guess, for lack of better words, ego commentating.
Okay.
Rast, because he's really fucking good at the game.
Yeah.
And like he can direct, like he goes down these paths where like he breaks things down very well, and like
he's excellent. So is Death Donkey with Deuce 7. What I said about both of them to Brent, and I think it's like very fair, is that they're so elite at the games that they're doing commentary on that it's for a specific audience, right? And that's not because they can't make it more widespread. It's just that's their current lane.
Yeah, it's just because they're
if they wanted to both get like very heavy into commentary, they could bridge that gap, right? But as it stands, like they're just dug in to the spots, and that's great. Like if you're a diehard who's watching Tritons, like you want nothing more than a Rast.
It's so good,
commentary.
Honestly, when Rast is doing commentary for Triton, I love it.
But understand that Shulman is Rast.
Yeah.
But Shulman translates. That's the only difference.
Well, there's like translation and deference, where it's like, I think this
Rast
is correct.
shows deference, for sure.
And like that's kind of the big idea is most of the time if you're doing that kind of commentary, you probably should be somebody that's not just like beating the field slightly, but like have played so many of these in your past that you've seen the spots, you've done the work, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to go against this guy because he probably knows what's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're like in the booth as someone that's like probably wouldn't even register the tournament in the first place, it's like not your spot to give skill.
Yeah, I think what Rast and Shulman both do a great job of. I think Death Donkey did a great job of this with the Deuce to 7. I think Jesse's very good at it. I think Brent and Platt also. What they very, very rarely, if ever, do is say, well, what I would do.
Yeah.
Or what I would have done.
Right.
If I don't do this,
and that's
I'm
all
leaving.
it was yesterday.
Yeah. It's just putting yourself in the place of the person.
You don't come after timestamp, bro.
Yeah. It just doesn't matter.
Don't come after
Don't come after my boy.
Literally, nobody cares
Yeah.
what you would do. It's like you just talk about the spot that's in front of you, not about what you would do.
And it's like maybe you can't, like you said, if you are Rast or you are Shulman, you could say that because you are so studied and so elite. But
that's the
And
beauty
they
is that
don't even do it though.
That's the beauty is that they don't.
I know, but I'm saying that they could, right?
And
Because
even
of
then,
it,
like
but they
it wouldn't,
don't.
it wouldn't
Right.
feel good because they know, like, am I right? Maybe at like an 80% confidence level, but not 100.
Right.
But like, there's so few spots in poker when you study so much. You're like, oh, I know this is a fact, and I'm going to dunk on somebody that gets it wrong
Yeah.
Right.
on air. Right. Outside of air.
Hilariously enough, the only time that happened was Rast actually doing it to his co-commentator, who was actually doing the thing of like, well, isn't this a clear 3-bet? Like, we have queens in this spot. And, Rast is like, look, I've looked at this spot a million times. I assure you.
It's not.
This is correct.
Yeah.
Like what he's doing, like don't question the man on the felt.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Oh, like he's tilted. He's going for it. It's like, no, man.
Right.
Stay in your lane. Your lane is the funny guy.
Yeah.
Be the funny guy.
Yeah. We still have a long way to go for like post-production and commentary and stuff like that. But I really do think we're trending up. I really think that like the commentary as a whole in the community is getting a lot better. I think we're seeing more than just Nick and Ali emerge as great at this, which is really important.
I know it's like mildly selfish, but I'm very, very like I'm excited to see like what happens with the WPT with Tony and Vince, and like how they take those out in post production. It's like doing commentary.
Tony's already done some, no? He's done a fair
he
amount.
has, but like mine hasn't come out yet.
Oh, on your final table.
Yeah.
I see. Tony's excellent, I think. I truly think so, and I think Vince is also like when you're talking about the color guy.
Like people forget about them just because like they're not doing streams,
right?
It's like,
yeah. I think like Vince. Who was it with high stakes poker?
Benza?
No, after Gabe. Who'd you say?
I said AJ Benza.
AJ Benza. Yeah, him and Nick together were fantastic. Like we just, it's a shame we lost Mike. I think Sexton was like just one of the best. He's actually a staple example of what everybody should aim for because he was capable of playing both roles.
I gotta watch him. I gotta watch back some of that.
He's so charming, man.
Right.
He's just like he has like such a gentle grandfatherly feel to him, and he's just so charming.
His voice was soothing as hell too.
Yeah, and it's just like everything had the most positive spin with like an undertone of excitement. Like he could have called 100 fucking ace king versus queen spots,
right?
And he made every one of them uniquely exciting to watch.
Yeah,
where you just weren't sure what that flip was gonna end in, and like that was the real beauty of Mike, was that he was capable of playing both roles incredibly well without ever losing the audience. He was never so quote unquote studied that he got bogged down by correctness. It was so much more of just about like trying to fill in the gap and explain to the audience why things were happening the way they were happening. It wasn't about is it right or wrong. It's just, can I get inside the head of this quote unquote athlete here and kind of give a little bit more insight as to why he's doing what he's doing, right? Sometimes I'm sure they got it wrong because they're talking about the meta or whatever the case may be, but it was also 2006. That stuff was more important then.
Yeah.
It is kind of nice to have the benefit of post-production just to make sure that like you kind of get things right.
Of course.
It's obviously a much more difficult job in a way to be live on air for every single hand to not have those personal feelings, because like I know I've done commentary once and I definitely went too far into like the ego
you just get swept up,
and like you just want to be like, oh, like you want to feel like you're in the spot,
right?
But you have to remember that the people that are watching don't really care if you're in the spot,
and sometimes
they care about the people in the spot.
Sometimes your co-commentator will actually accidentally lead you down the wrong path, because
what would you do here?
Right, they'll just keep probing you that way.
And you're like, well, don't get me started.
Which is really lazy.
Yes. It is, and like it's hard to see that happening in real time, because you want to like ping pong off of them, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of want to play ball and you want to entertain questions, but you lose sight of the bigger picture the second that it becomes a back and forth of like, well, what do you think, or what would you do?
Commentary should be the inside of the players.
Yeah, and obviously, like, these long streams are fucking brutal.
Yeah, because at some point it's 3 hours in, and you're just like kind of
10 hours in,
over it, 10 hours even. If you're doing the full day stuff, it's hard to stay on like a clean level for the entire way through.
That's what separates the goats from the rest, though.
Speaking
like
of
Ivey,
goats.
That's right. That's right. I only got to watch a little bit of the final 3 play down. It was really, really insightful. I can't remember who the co-commentator was. Man, I can't recall. But anyway, I thought the commentary was really good for this. Ivey ends up making a huge comeback. He busts Jay in third, takes a massive lead into heads up versus Danny Wong. Ultimately ended up winning the 10K deuce to 7 triple draw.
What a goat.
So yeah, you could say he's pretty good at poker.
Yeah, and the thing is like, if you watch triple draw play out, it's so much fucking variance. Like, he just kept making wheels versus Jay on the final pool. And it's like, you can only do so much. These types of events are especially at such an elite level where there probably isn't a ton of skill difference.
That's kind of the thing, right? Is when everyone's so good, you're going to have to be chosen by the deck.
Yeah. Yeah, and in limit games, you get chosen differently, right? Like, in no limit games, you just win a flip.
Right.
And that's
all the
just
money goes in.
Win
and
a
you
flip,
just
like
hit
you're
it.
bluffing
Yeah.
the turn
we just
and you
pick a
river the
winner.
straight.
Yeah.
There's just a bunch of different ways that the deck chooses
it's like
you.
a key hand, right? But like in limit games, it's just like a string. It's like these streaks of hands.
Getting
where,
on
like,
streaks, getting into good situations that allow you to like win an extra bet here, an extra bet there, and they all add up at the end.
Yeah.
And there's skill in that, right? Like finding that thin river value or going for a block bet where you don't have to check call a bigger bet. But like in limit, it's like, okay, I'm going to play good, you're going to play really good, and we're going to see what happens.
Saving bets is what's most important in limit games.
Yeah, I was really impressed the day before when they were a lot deeper, watching Jay navigate.
Yeah.
Because he was playing just really loose in the small bet portion of the game tree. Yep. And then just really fucking good at getting away from things. And you know, maybe I'm overemphasizing it. Like maybe they were just trivial.
To you, it seems like that way. You're
they
like,
might
how
have just
did
been
he
like super trivial folds.
You're getting 8-1. How do you just not call anything?
It's like, I'm just like, I'm like watching him just like muck a rough 9 as they go to the turn. And I'm just like, is that like just standard? I mean, you have a pat hand. Like, I would just be rolling with it, but I don't know shit about shit. So what's impressive to me is like, you know, just kind of maybe whatever to the elites, but it is what makes them elite.
You just never want to relinquish chip lead in that situation.
Okay,
so that's
Conrad,
why you can't pay off the big bets. You know,
let's relax on your fucking deuce to 7.
Listen, if you want to learn how to play, I can teach you, man. That's
okay, you know what?
I'll get you a bracelet by next year. All right,
that's all I gotta say. Let's get him in the booth. For
now I'd like to announce we're running a Deuce to 7 Academy headed by the one and only Conrad Simpson.
That's right. He will teach you all you ever need to know. This is a bigger poker story than I think it'll even get credit for. Like Ivey winning his 11th and moving into second all time in bracelets is fucking monumental. He passes a lot of people that aren't ever going to pass him.
He didn't play WSOP for a couple of years, right?
There was a couple of years where he had his issues. I think it was because of the Brigada thing and the MGM thing where he owed or lost that lawsuit, and they had him. They were garnishing his wages, or not garnishing. Garnish?
Garnishing's the word, but okay. I don't know if it's the right context.
No, it is. They were seizing his winnings for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
But you know, he's back. And now it's a question of like, how back is he? Right? Like, how much of a schedule? How hard is he going to push someone like Helmuth at this point? Because 6 bracelets seems like a lot to us.
It's not that much. Not when you play these mixed games and there's like 130 people and you're one of the best.
It's so crazy because he's gone 10 years without a bracelet.
Maybe he'll start playing online.
Right? Seidel also, who now has 10 and is the only active player with 10. Like R.I.P. Doyle and you know Johnny's not going to win anything.
No, I mean if Helmuth is out here, you know, trying to win these bracelets in these massive no limit fields, right? And then you have, I mean, I'm
to be fair, he's only
the limit.
He's only won one
mixed stuff.
Like of his last, I think 6, only one of them was no limit.
You guys are completely like overlooking something. Men the Master is still playing poker.
I don't see what the point of that is.
He can easily get another 10 bracelets.
Yeah.
All he has to do is, you know, cheat a little bit.
Okay. And there's Conrad derailing the convo again. Thank you for your contributions, Conrad.
Oh man,
just lovely.
Love to do it.
It's funny because on the final table, not yesterday but the day before, you know, Brent was commentating and he said, you know, when it comes to these small fields, these mixed game tournaments, it is like in rounders where they say, you know, it's the same 5 guys at the final table every single year, because it is. You do see that click. I mean, Jay makes a Deuce to 7 final table every year, and he plays 1, right? Like he's just always there. So it's like, it's not inconceivable to see, you know, Ivey maybe just rip off 3 or 4 in the next, you know, 5 or 6 years.
So yeah, I guess like that's the thing. You know, I don't want to undersell this. It's still very hard to win a bracelet.
It is.
Like him going 10 years isn't just a byproduct of him having a couple years where he didn't play.
I mean, he had a bunch of spots like playing high stakes FTs, like 250K a few years ago.
You know, Poker Players Championship. I think he made the final table.
Like
he made the final table with a main not that long ago. We forget that,
right?
Like,
yeah.
When I say I don't want to undersell, like it's still very difficult to win bracelets. What I want to reiterate though is he puts himself in a position where he's always live because he plays so much big buy-in small field stuff. He'll be in the 250K. He'll be in all the 50K high rollers, the 25K high rollers. Like
mixed games.
These are a couple hundred people, all the mixed games, couple hundred people, you know? And that's not to say that Phil isn't battling himself, but like we're probably not going to see him in the 250K. We're probably not going to see him in the 50K or the 100. Is there 100K? I think there's 100.
There's a 100. I think there's 100K and a 250K.
Like, does Phil play? Did he play like the 10K Deuce of 7? Does he play those kind of events?
Hellmuth?
Yeah.
I
have
think
no
so.
idea.
I'm pretty sure he
so.
plays.
Does he?
I'm
Okay.
pretty positive he plays all the 10K championships.
Okay.
I think so.
But I think like he doesn't fire all the 25K pluses. So again, like, you know, it's important that we realize like Hellmuth hasn't won a lot of no limit bracelets in the last decade. And he also doesn't play a lot of the small field no limit events. Ivey, I don't even know if he has a no limit bracelet, but he plays all of the small no limit events moving forward.
What's funny is they also mentioned that this is his first
Small field, I should say. Sorry.
This is his first 10K bracelet or better.
Really?
Yeah, he doesn't. He never
They're all
won.
small buy-ins?
He never. Yeah, all of them were like 1,500 or like 2K, like 2,500 and under or something like that.
Yeah.
What a goat.
until this one. So yeah, this is his first championship, technically.
I just think this is so, like, we're so back. We're back, baby.
We're back.
We're fucking back. Like,
Yeah, Ivey's winning bracelets.
I care again.
Right?
I care about the World Series.
Enough to get in there?
No. But like
But
the
you're
next
a fan. You're a fan.
Yeah, I'm fanboying
Let's
again.
go.
I want to see the Hellmuth Ivey rivalry.
Yeah.
I want Daniel to win another bracelet. It's been too long. Like,
Right.
I want him to be in the mix again.
How many does he have?
I think he
7
has
or 8?
5. I'm not positive.
I feel like he had more than that.
I think he has 5. But yeah, like short list of people.
Seidel. Get Seidel.
Yeah, short list of people that you want to see battling
He
for
has
bracelets.
6 bracelets.
Okay, so he's 6. Sorry. Okay, so we have Negreanu with 6. We have Mercier with 6. You have Seidel with 10. You have Ivey with 11. You have Hellmuth with 17. I'm trying to think who else would be like on that short list of all-around player that plays all
I didn't
the
realize
events.
Seidel has 10.
Okay, bro, he's a fucking gangster. He's so
best.
quiet. Like, he will nip at Ivey's heels as Ivey nips it at Hellmuth, I think, because it's the same thing with Seidel. He plays all of. The thing is, though, he doesn't put in the big volume.
No,
that's kind of the biggest thing, right? He's just never going to play a 50 event schedule. Neither is Ivey, but like Ivey won't miss a small field event. Where I don't think Eric is always going to follow or play like the 10K Deuce or the 50K Players Championship. I don't even know if he plays that much.
And Jay will play 3 events a year, and he'll win a bracelet every other year.
Exactly. Exactly. So he's always in the mix. Deeb is always in the mix.
Yep.
You know, these guys, REA, these guys that are always like player of the year threats. You love to fucking see them battle. And I get it. Everybody I just named is somewhat a part of the old guard. You know, Jason and Deeb, they're ushering in
the new
our
guard
generation.
Doesn't play like the. I mean, I guess they play. They don't play.
No,
the
they
mixed games
do.
like,
They do, but they're not. They're specialists. Like
Right.
guys like Yuri are fantastic mixed game players, but he's probably just not going to win a no limit bracelet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Benny. Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Benny's a triple threat, right? Dylan Weissman is kind of like a specialist big bet player, right? He could potentially start to climb the list, although I think he only has 1 or 2.
I mean, it's just so hard to win a no limit bracelet. Man.
A guy like Osmus, very well rounded, 6 bracelets, right? But he has like the funniest list of.
Osmus has 6 bracelets.
Yeah, but it's like the funniest list of bracelets.
It really is.
He won like a charity one. He won like.
It was like the COVID relief charity event.
Yeah.
Like
he won
online, right? He has a few.
this was-
online.
yeah.
I think it's 2 online.
Yeah.
Cheka.
Yeah, I think he has 2 online. He has like.
He won like a 50K
Did he win the
PLO.
salute for Warriors?
Yeah, I'm telling you, like, it's not that they're all like events that you went and like shot from the rooftops, but there's like a handful, like of the 6, like 3 or 4 of them are just kind of like, I'm sorry, wait, what did you play? The bracelet he won, the charity one that he won, it was the first event I think of the COVID year, so the November.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
bracelet
COVID
series.
relief for 48K.
Yeah, so he won that. and was down money 3 days later.
Yeah.
For the summer, or for the fall.
And
I
then
guess,
he
at that
won
point.
the PLO High Roller 50K, and then he
Yeah,
won
that one's legit.
He won the 3K 6 Max actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
We know that one's legit. Shout
and
out
then
to
he
timestamp,
won
bro.
online. Oh, was it a circuit? It looks like a circuit. That doesn't count.
I do think he has like 1 or 2 online bracelets.
Bracelet. He won a 365 bracelet event.
Online, right?
Online 2022.
Yeah.
And then 2023 he won the online event 3200.
Right.
For 360. So
Okay.
That's a good amount online too.
Yeah. So that's four of the 6 right there. And
Number
then I think
1, yeah. So gotta salute to the charity relief.
the charity relief is fucking
For
great.
50K, he's like, yay.
But like
Number 1.
that's kind of the thing, right? Like it takes a long time to build up a career resume like an Ivey or a Helmuth or a D-Negs or a Seidel, right? Like Seidel, Ivey, and Seidel and Helmuth have now spanned 5 decades, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010, 2000. Yeah, 5 decades. Those two have spanned 5 decades for bracelets. Like, just imagine that.
Doesn't it feel like,
Right?
and you said you're like, we're back and I'm a fan again. Like someone like Ivey winning a bracelet makes the bracelet more prestigious again.
It does feel
doesn't
like
it?
that way.
Doesn't it
Yes,
feel like
absolutely.
You're like, wow, like I can win a bracelet. Ivey just won a bracelet. I can be the same.
I'm sweating a
field
mixed
as
game.
Ivey. Yeah,
I'm sweating. This is the first time I sweat a mixed game in so long. I didn't even sweat Jay's bracelet last year.
It's why we root for these like, you know, legends of the game, right? Because when they win a bracelet and then that gives you something to strive for.
I think
I can be like these heroes.
I think it's finally coming to pass where we begin to understand that it takes being good over the span of 3 or 4 decades before you can start to elevate. Like nobody would ever deny the greatness of Jason Kuhn, Steven Chidwick, Ike, you know, that whole collective.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that as they rose the ranks and fell into the high roller scene, and I can relate to this, the World Series just becomes less important.
Yeah.
Right? I think Jason just won his first bracelet a couple years ago in the heads up.
25K, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like,
He was always that number 1 on the list to not have a bracelet.
Think of how great he is to only have 1 bracelet.
Mm-hmm.
But the World Series just isn't going to be that big of a priority to him. I don't know how many Chidwick or Ike have. I would guess sub 3.
Right. They're not.
I think Ike just won his first one last year or the year before in a high roller.
You're not going to find these guys in the 3K 6 Max.
Right. Because like they're just not battling for player of the year. They're not battling.
Yeah, his first was a 25K high roller.
Yeah.
For Ike.
Right. Yeah. So like they're just not out there. So the problem is they don't get to usher in that next generation. Right. So now we are looking to the J Merces, the Osmuses of the world. You know, we need them to kind of keep collecting jewelry.
Mm-hmm.
Like we want that. Yeah, the Deebs of the world. We want that. And then for this, you know, for Landon's generation, it's like hopefully there will be some emergence. And I think that there's a high probability there would be, because never more than now is specializing in MTTs a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like there's just a path where somebody like David Coleman just becomes one of the best tournament players of all time. Or Pads is another good example, right? He's like 31, 32, something along those lines. A little bit older.
Timestamp, bro.
I think 36.
Okay, fair. But it's like he plays all the games, right? He plays all the games. He could potentially start to win and collect a ton of bracelets.
If he starts coming to the series and stuff, which he's doing more so now recently.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he and Espen won the tag team. Like,
Right.
there's one.
Yeah.
You know? And then he's deep in the squeeze out. There's 13 left, and
Didn't
he's
he
2
say
of
he was
13.
leaving this
Well,
week?
he was gonna.
He was supposed to leave
but his
today,
plans
but-
got changed, Conrad.
Oh.
You see, there are 13 left, and 2 of the aforementioned players are actually still alive in this one. Jeremy Osmus is 10th in chips with 1.69 million, and Pads is actually 2nd in chips with 5 million. So he had to cancel his plans, cancel his flight. They're playing for a prize pool of 2.8 million. First place is 439,000.
Mamacita.
And 1 gold bracelet, which suddenly I just care so much about.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ivey.
It's funny because, like, for me, like, the bracelet, I suppose, doesn't matter as much, but because it's a no limit event and, like, a lot of the guys left in the field are very, very good and studied, it's nice to kind of learn a lot from these final tables.
Yeah.
Just by, like, taking them away and be like, oh, this is an interesting spot. I don't know if this is the correct idea or not. And then like it just helps me improve my game just because people have gotten so much better. Like,
Right.
You could tell from the from Nick's final table, like there was a lot more.
Shulman's
like,
another great example.
Yeah.
Somebody that can usher in.
he won
that next
back-to-back
generation.
years, right? He won the stud, and then
Stud
he won
last year.
Then he won this one.
And then he said this was his first no limit bracelet.
It was.
I think this is number 6 for
It's
him.
6 for him.
Yeah, so like
Or
there's
5.
a lot of people collecting around that 5-6
I think
mark.
it's 5. It's 5.
That can at some point challenge. Yeah, you're right because he did the
5.
But there's a Rast I think has 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Seaver. There's a nice collection of guys in their late 30s, early 40s that are either Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers.
We're in like 10 years from now. That
Right.
might be in the teens.
Right, like that's kind of the weird thing. It's like we want the Mercier arc again.
I would
right?
love to see
where he was
Seaver.
29 and just like lighting the world on fire.
Right.
I would love to see Seaver go for it for the next couple of years.
He's doing it this year.
I know. I would love to see.
He was
keep
literally
going.
tweeting that he thinks he's going to win 26 bracelets. I obviously like hyperbolically, but
Yeah. But he's like-
going for it.
Yeah, he's like he's feeling good, and I like the way I like his energy. You know,
Yeah.
he's always.
You know, Scott has 5.
I counted him in that group.
Yeah. He just it's not like he's like, oh, I'm going to start playing tournaments or whatever. Like he's
No. But he's saying he's going to prioritize
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's the big difference.
He's locked in. He wants in.
All right,
Love to see it.
let's take a quick listen to Ivey's exit interview before we move on.
For In the Muck. Ivey's in the muck with his bracelet. Bow, 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 bow. Matt, you have to vamp.
I don't know what to do.
I mean, I had to take a lot of years off, but it's good to be back playing again. Hopefully, more to come.
More to come. And Phil, you're looking very stylish these days. Are the bucket hats here to stay? They seem to be bringing you luck.
These lights bother me, you know, like all these lights or whatever. So I
Yeah.
try to like stay low and stay out of the lights because they kind of tire me down.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's why I'm wearing a bucket hat.
Well, you look good, Phil.
All right, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
I'm Drea Renee. This is Poker Go.
You look good. All right.
A man of many
Phil, congrats.
many words.
That was great.
Yeah, he's something else. Honestly, like we just need more Ivey content for sure.
It's cool when he wins because like a bunch of stories kind of come out of the woodwork. Like Timex saying he only brought glasses in his pocket in case he played
Yeah.
next to Ivey.
I saw the Shulman massage one get tweeted out again last week.
That's
Evergreen
so
story.
Seaver was telling it. While we're on bracelet winners, let's congratulate a couple more who were able to take it down. First and foremost, the 1500 freeze out winner. It looks like it was a recreational who took it down. Evan Benton. The headline is from poker beginner to WSOP bracelet winner. He claims victory in the 1500 freeze out. Big shout out to Nick Mamoni, who was also at that final table. He's a old friend of ours, used to crash at our pad way back in the day. He got 7th for 64K.
He's a quiet killer too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Man, what an arc. He would be somebody that would be fascinating to have like a biography done on. I don't think people know the FU15 arc, but like he's a fascinating character. Like has always just been like such a fucking degenerate within the 4 walls of the game.
Right.
But like outside of that, driving, he's a degenerate also. He drives the way he plays poker. You do not want to get in a
I don't
car
know
with
if
him.
I've ever been in a car with him behind the wheel.
0 to 100 and then slamming on the brakes.
Yeah, that's exactly how he plays poker.
100%. It's just like he just splashes the pot
Yeah.
until he's down to 10 blinds and then biggest nit in the fucking planet.
There was
That's
a while I don't
amazing.
think anybody played more online than him.
It's true.
Yeah.
COVID
Bro's a
for
grinder.
sure.
Yeah. Bro is
Online.
definitely a
ultra
grinder.
aggressive, just like would build massive chip leads or just be out. Like
Yeah.
he just always went for it.
This one's a fun story. Richard Ashby wins his second bracelet in the exact same stud event that he won previously. He beat resident stud pro Adam Owen heads up for $113,000. I'm always surprised at these prize pools. Like this is a pretty good turnout for a 1500 stud. They got 406 players. Seems like it's pretty decent. Although I guess like, you know, the first prize isn't exactly stunning. It's not going to jump out at you, but Mike Norrie got 3rd. Brandon Shack Harris, friend of the pod, got 5th place. Shout out to him.
Yep.
Good to see him back in the streets. Hopefully he has a big summer. Really rooting for him as always. And then finally, Alex Mazzano wins event 33, the $600 pot limit Omaha deep stacked event. This drew 2,400 entries, $1.2 million prize pool. He ships this one for $161,000. Looks like this is his first bracelet as well. So a lot of first-time winners. Obviously, we're going to see that a ton in the smaller buy-ins, as well as when we're giving out 90-plus bracelets a year, plus online. We haven't even talked about the online winners, but there's been a number of them. So congratulations to all you guys. You have that hardware that suddenly I give a shit about because Ivey's rocking a
That's all it
11th
takes,
one.
man.
If he starts to climb that ladder, if we see this guy go off for 3 this year,
oh man,
and suddenly Helmuth shaking in his boots, only 4 away, stranger things have happened, my friend.
What will Helmuth do? Will he get in the lab?
Might get in the 250K.
might have to.
Might happen.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to In the Muck and get out of here.
All right, we got another user submission. This comes from Robert, former Academy, MTT Academy member. He's playing at old familiar place, Burke, Turning Stone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's playing a little 1-2 at Turning Stone.
All right.
And he's got Brent's favorite hand.
Mallards.
He's got the mallards, baby. He's got those mallards.
I'm going to adjust this. Give me 1 second.
Yep, they're playing 6-handed. And, of course, he's got the deuce of hearts and the deuce of spades. And so it's going to fold to him on the button. They're $500 effective, playing 1-2. And he makes it $10. The small blind calls, and they go heads up to a flop of ace of diamonds, 7 of clubs, deuce of clubs. So he flops bottom set. Small blind checks. He bets half pot, $10 again. He's met with a call. The turn, 8 of diamonds, putting 2 diamonds out there. And check. And now he goes 2x pot for about 80. And so interesting. And he's met with another call. And now the river is the 9 of diamonds, completing a straight and a flush. And now his opponent 2x pots into him for 400, and he thinks about it for a while, and he finds the fold.
Good fold.
People keep sending flexes.
That's a good fold.
People keep sending flexes. We're like, I'm sure in theory, like his hand probably like might mix, you know, because
Right.
he doesn't actually beat value.
Just fold.
But like, if turn is GO2 for 2x pot, like it's just a well played hand.
Fergie likes to pay.
I mean, I would gamble.
This is definitely
Like, you're gonna have to show me.
This is definitely
2
interesting
diamonds
here.
or that Jack 10.
The 9 of diamonds is not a good card.
like he doesn't beat value, right? The guy's saying he's a flush.
Yeah, well, so he was, you know, Robert said he was talking to him on the river.
Kind of
asked him,
live
like,
read.
Yeah, well, he said, like, does he ever bluff clubs here? Like, do you have clubs? Did you miss clubs? Is that like that? That's the only thing I beat. That's what he felt like. He was like, if you're not bluffing clubs here, then I have to fold. And then he came to that decision.
Well, that's kind of the thing, right? Is that in theory, out of position is probably going to have a range check where leading a river like this isn't great because in position can still just have king 6 of diamonds or something like this.
Well, let's not be so sure. I ran this spot, and I'm a little bit surprised by the output. Not from Robert's side. I actually think he played flop and turn well. I think he missed sizes a little bit on the flop, but negligibly.
He goes quarter?
Yeah.
No, he went half.
I'm
like a smidge shy of half, like 45.
All right.
I'm curious about the turn size because like,
Turn's good. Turn is 2E. I'm very confident turn is 2E.
Yeah, right. Because like you see like the 2x pot and you're like, is that like that? It just seems out of the ordinary a little bit, but then you're like, well, that might just be good.
Deuces is like the nut combo to do this with.
Sevens,
you just
checkers, flop.
you unblock all the other guys' value and
You're literally, you should never be set over set because eights shouldn't call flop.
Right.
Aces should 3-bet pre, and 7s will just exit through a check raise on the flop, almost always.
In practice, that's for sure.
Yeah, so you're almost never set over set. I guess the only downside
8s with the club can probably float, but still.
It's
Versus
tough.
40?
Well,
Singer
it
is
was
pot?
near 50.
He goes, what do you mean near 50? Oh, pop.
He bet like 47%.
I think you still can't fold, right? Like in theory, at least, like you have eights of the club, you know, and like you don't care, right? You don't build your strategy around getting cooled off by a hand that rarely exists.
No, of course. But if he chooses the correct size of like 75 on the flop, like eights doesn't peel. I don't think. Maybe it's close. I don't know.
Flop is a big bet.
Yes. I'm pretty confident. I mean, basically, when you flop,
right versus small blind, it's a little different.
Yeah, when you flop bottom set on these types of dry textures where you unblock the call downs, you just get to fucking go hard.
Yeah, and like I think in theory, like if you played versus big blind, the size is smaller, but versus small blind, you go bigger because there's less garbage to target.
Possibly.
Right, like,
I think the biggest difference is that if you're against big blind, they play no leads, and this was the surprising thing to me about this sim. Small blind actually gets the lead pretty aggressively on both flop and turn.
Like, as in after flop c-bet call, you can lead on an 8?
Yes. And prior to that, he's leading like 22% of the time on
I guess
A7 deuce.
That's kind of the issue, I'd imagine, is I think that the size for, like, because he has leads, that means in theory, the button should check back a lot on the flop. Right, the only reason you lead is because they check back.
Yeah, he checks out about half the time.
Right, and so if he's checking back, it's check or big bet for the button because you're not betting as often anymore.
It makes. I mean, I gave it two sizes. It basically chooses like big bet or small bet. The small bet is much more. Big bet doesn't come that often.
Deuces, okay.
But deuces is like the hand,
right?
That loves the big bet.
I guess it just depends if you're playing one size or two.
Correct. If you're playing one size, then he gets it wrong.
It's probably just big bet or check, I imagine.
Yeah, it's like B25 or check.
Sure.
But if you are playing a single size with like, if you're playing just the big size in a check, then he nails this, right? But if you're playing small size in check, then whatever. It doesn't really matter. He did what he did, and it was instinctually correct. So here was the surprising thing to me is that small blind actually leads here quite a bit, and I find this to be non-intuitive.
Why is there ace 5 off? What the hell? What is his range?
I mean, it's an anti-range.
Sure.
Oh wait, it's an anti-range. Oh, that's why.
But I was just literally making stuff up on.
Wait, is it an anti-range?
I don't know.
Oh no. Yeah, it's an anti-range. My apologies.
MTT.
That's why. My bad.
Bro's just.
I'll fix.
Source. Bro made it up. It occurred to him in a dream.
I will fix. My apologies. Pre-flop only. What were we? 200 here?
Yeah.
Effective?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
2.5.
You're getting better with the wizard though. That's good.
250 effective, Berk.
250.
It's fine. It'll be some.
Yeah, you can just manipulate it yourself.
I'm just gonna choose the wider ones, which is the small opening size, even though he opened very large. Just because I think small stakes tend to play wider. Okay, so let's rerun this.
Like, what's an ace 5 off doing here? You're scaring me.
Let's rerun this then and see if it still likes the big size, because it may not any longer.
Fortunately, the wizard is fast.
The wizard is very fast. We do appreciate that. 245.
It's the anti-tortoise.
And create. Okay. I expect you're right now. We won't see leads any longer.
Probably not.
Which is a lot more intuitive to me, because I was going to say, like, intuitively speaking, I didn't really understand where the leads were coming from. But if you look at like the equity chart, it's mostly because there's some disparity in the middle, where like there's just like a lot of ace X. No, it is still leading.
There's just no ace 5 off anymore.
Right. Right. So it looks like it's because of like some of the strength that flats, like the ace king off, the ace queen off. So basically it's like creating a bit of an advantage here in this like 80th percentile of equity, and that's driving the lead range.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like how much is ace king even flat pre? Probably never. Ace
right,
king,
yeah. If we start
never.
painting ranges and doing all this other fun stuff, then of course it's going to take the leads away. And we could also just make assumptions that he never leads.
You're right. So I would just like, I mean, just kind of want to lock a range check for him, right?
Kind of, but not really, because then it's going to get really conservative. I mean, sure. I think
if the guy's never leading, then...
I think if we lock a range check, what we'll see is only big bet or check as a response.
Is that overbet? 7.4?
No, it's 67.
Oh, because you go 5 as the open, or you made the SPR 11. Got it.
Yeah, so like my estimation is if we lock for a range check here, what will happen is we'll lose the small bet in position,
Yeah, I think that's smart though.
And it'll mostly just now be big, better, check. So check frequency will go from like 50% to probably like 70-ish. Because there's just so much strong stuff now that hasn't exited through a lead.
Right, because a lot of the stuff that leads to is like flush draw heavy.
Right. Yeah. It didn't change much. I mean, it did. It changed the checking frequency. And so basically we just bet less. The splits between the sizes are still pretty similar. Yeah. But you can see deuces heavily prefers the larger size.
Yeah.
And pretty much the big bet strategy is just built around deuces and ace king. So you can see deuces, one of the highest frequency hands.
Deuces,
ace king suited, one of the highest frequency hands. And then like just some hands that have like nice draws, like jack 10 suited, giving you a good backdoor, 9-8, none of the suits, giving you a good triple off to marry with those types of hands. And then like the ace 7 off specifically. So the only thing I would say is that like with our deuces, it'd be nice to unblock ace deuce suited, but you can see that the solver doesn't really care that much. It does prefer the deuce of spades, deuce of hearts a little bit more, which is the exact candidate that we have. So good find here. I'm just going to adjust it to the size that he actually chose, which I think he chose
half,
5 big blinds.
I imagine. You still want to keep 2 sizes on flop?
Well, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on how much of the range exists, right? Because ace is just pure small.
Well, I'm just saying it doesn't really matter because we have deuces, and that's a high frequency choice for the size that we went with. Sure. So once you drop it below 50%, you can see that it starts to converge on this size, which you can tell is just like now custom sizing, right? Because like it's just hedging between the two sizes, and it's all converging on 45. So it is better to either go bigger or smaller in this spot. But it is what it is. This is what we got.
You either have aces that doesn't want to go big because you have 3 aces, or you have deuces that wants to go big because they can have an ace.
Exactly. Not much to analyze from out of positions calls, so we'll just skip ahead to the 8 of diamonds turn. And this is where I think you're going to see that Robert got it very right. I expect the 2E to be pretty good size here. Okay, so now the leads are gone here. Previously, the leads existed a lot, but I think it's because we eliminated the flop lead. So this range is just going to be a lot different or constructed differently. And yeah, you can see that the 2E size, almost pure with deuces, and it is pure with 7s and 8s.
Does that need money now?
Even aces, very happy to do this because it unblocks some of the pair plus flush draws.
You just use ace king as your check now because it's too thin.
Exactly. Yeah. So it loves sets here. And then it loves like combo draws like the 10-9 suited, 10-9 of diamonds specifically. Jack-9 of clubs and diamonds both kind of go for it.
Yeah, diamonds are nicer because out of position check raises flush draws.
Right.
Less so backdoors, right? So if you have backdoors, it's more likely they're going to call you again.
Yeah, and then you can see like all the 2-pair happy to go for it. Like basically just need to funnel money in here to protect the top of your range.
Matt, what is the ace king off combo that likes to go 2E?
Probably has a suit.
Yeah, ace of club. It blocks the ace X of clubs.
It's so like if a club comes, you don't get wrecked.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't get jammed on.
Or like they don't have ace X of clubs, right? So they don't make a flush, and you have ace king, and
so you get to just go big.
And you're womped.
So we go big here. You can see it's a very tight range that continues. Only 30% of hands. A lot of these probably are going to be flush draws, I imagine, if we look at the suits. So if we look at clubs and diamonds.
It's just pair plus because the flush draws are so scared, except for like king jack, because it's like the best one.
Yeah, so you can see king 10, king 9, queen 9, all folding pure when they just have naked flush draws, especially non-nutted. Although even like king 9 of diamonds is folding pure, despite the fact that it's drawing to the nuts, because it can only get there one way. It doesn't have the ability to make a straight. It doesn't have the ability to be a pair plus, so make 2-pair or better. But you can see that there are some other king X of diamonds that are willing to continue, like king 6, king 5.
Well, the 9's a bad card, right? Because in position's bluffs, right? In position's going to bluff with suited 9, but less so with the 6.
You don't flush over flush them as often with the king 9 of diamonds, but
more
you do
they have value as well.
Right, you do more likely with the king 5.
With king low.
Yeah.
Look at king 3s, right? King 3, king 4, they just pure call. Because they're like, oh, I can cooler them.
Exactly.
And I don't block their yeets.
Exactly, yeah. So fun little intricacies of solver work here. And then the river's the 9 of diamonds, correct?
Yep.
Okay. Let's see if he gets to play leads. I suspect he does. Maybe not all ins. Wow, no leads. Landon was correct.
Well, because if you look at
sorry. Nope, still no leads.
If you look at imposition's bluffs on the turn, like if you go back, it's a lot of queen deuce suited, king deuce suited, like pair block and flush draw, right?
Yep.
It's all the combos, so sometimes he's still gonna have king deuce of diamonds.
Right.
So like even though his range is sets, it's like sets plus high equity draws plus some absolute like dusto go offs, I imagine, like some 10-9 like no suit, which is open ended or whatever. But
and also there's just like hands like like 10-6 of clubs, which will probably value bet this river on the end.
It's a good hand.
Yeah, so like you're just losing value basically by open jamming because 10-6 now might have to fold.
You kind of scare them.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, this jam not a thing. When check 2, you can see that we don't use the all-in size any longer.
You're now scared.
Right.
You're like, my hand's really like, look at aces. It's a pure check.
Pure check for aces.
Can't get called by worse. And deuces, you're like, I mean, I have a set. I hope you have 2 pair.
Deuces and sevens get a little bit thin. Straights obviously get thin. Flushes go for it. That type of stuff. If you do face the jam, just to see what is supposed to call off.
Oh, look at that. Indifferent.
Yeah. So sets definitely start to fold. You can see that even straights are indifferent.
Yeah. He's saying he has a flush, and he
right. So the point of indifference is actually Jack 10 exactly. So all of your sets are indifferent. All of your 2 pairs are actually pure folds. All of your flushes are pure calls, and then hands like Jack 10 is also a pure call. Everything worse than Jack 10 is going to mix in some capacity. So 10-6 mixes. Hands like 6-5, non-flushes, they'll mix. So these are straights that haven't filled to a flush. So basically, when you're facing 2x pot, no shock. You need a flush to call.
Yeah, it's fucking scary, man. The guy's saying he's a flush, and you have 2 cards that don't touch flushes.
Right.
You're like,
Right. And it's a little bit blocker sensitive in the sense that a set of sevens can call when they have the 7 of diamonds because it blocks a lot of the pair plus flushes.
Which is huge, though.
Exactly.
Like, that's a huge difference to the range that small blind check call leads.
Right.
6-7 of diamonds, right?
Yep.
Big hand. Like, big hand because it's one combo of a range that's very narrow.
Yeah.
It's not just like, it's only one hand. If he has 5 hands that leads jams and 6-7 of diamonds is one of them, that's 20% of value.
And you can see the deuce of diamonds doesn't matter because he doesn't have the deuce of diamonds in range. Right. So you're still just equally indifferent
you're
whether you have it or not.
You're not going to see deuce 3 of diamonds or whatever.
Correct. So, Robert, another flex.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's go.
Where were you in the muck, sir?
Exactly.
Where were you in the muck?
He's like, am I supposed to call if the guy's bluffing? And this is in theory, right? Like, I don't think people are going to start finding clubs and then bluffing because you want them to have clubs.
Well, like that's the big highlight here is that in theory it mixes folds. In practice,
probably just a pure
light those cards on fire, my friend.
I think I'm setting myself up to get dunked on, but I was surprised to not see that there's like no shoves out of position on the river. Like the machine just didn't do it. Did I miss that?
It did not.
It didn't shove for the out of position player. For the in position player, you mix 2 sizes because you need to get all the money with the flush.
Right.
Because when you have a flush, they're probably gonna have 2 pairs.
There aren't very many spots where you're gonna face a geo size overbet on the turn and then
lead into somebody.
And then break flow and just like because like you could have just jammed the turn.
Even when the board texture changes that much.
Correct.
Still don't see it
because
not on that card specifically.
Yeah, but even like what card would change?
Maybe it's 7, right?
I don't think.
I mean,
I don't think
we can look at it, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's see.
I mean, we can look really quick.
Like,
let's find the card that
I think there's very few cards because the idea would be like on turn in position saying they're very polar, and now the river is changed to like, okay, now the other player is very polar because the in position player will check back. But the issue in this spot is in position is betting set plus, so any board change is good for them. Besides like a card like this,
okay,
but you don't lead jam, right? You just lead small.
Correct. A non-diamond 7 gets a small frequency of leads.
You might not see a lead 2x pot shove.
Right, but like even still, you only lead for quarter pot and you get jammed on a bunch.
Yeah.
You get jammed on a third of the time.
Yeah.
So it's just like, what function does this lead actually have? Because like when you look at the hands that are leading, it's like you have exactly 8-7. And then everything else is just dog shit.
You have you have a full house, or you have like an ace that's going thin, or you have a straight draw that you called with. And it's like this range, and you go back to the lead, it's the efficacy of the bluff is not for your full house. It's for your 6-5s that miss, and you have to try to make them fold a flush draw.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you're not going for this like
which
hero
you,
play.
You almost never have. You have literally 6-5 of clubs half the time.
And that's all it's predicated around.
Right. So like building those strategies out are just
don't need to play 2-5.
They're great. Right. They're great to understand at a principled level.
Yeah.
Right. Like Landon being able to know that, okay, maybe on exactly an offsuit 7, we would be able to build a strategy around
the
like
most useless information ever.
Exactly. It's like it's nice to have in your back pocket because it allows you to internally think through spots in real time, right? It allows you to brain solve spots, especially when people do things that are not incentivized. Because now you know what is supposed to happen. You're like, okay, well, I can make some adjustments, right? But in practice, you absolutely don't need that in your back pocket in any capacity.
I think this spot is honestly one of those spots where like, call it tournaments, call it cash, whatever. Like the live guy will have a set, face this line and be like, man, I just absolutely ravaged this guy by folding a set because I know he doesn't have bluffs. But the machine does the exact same thing for the exact same reasons.
Right. Or the jammer gets called by the set and goes, man, I just ravaged that guy because like I knew he had a set.
And wouldn't fold it.
And he wasn't going to bet if I checked to him. And to be fair, there's a lot of merit in that. If you do know your opponent that well, like maybe jam wasn't the correct size, but maybe pot gets called.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like there is a world where you do get to break whatever the sim is saying because the sim is operating off of perfect information where the opponent will also respond perfectly. And you're operating in the real world where people are just going to do whatever the fuck they want based off of the emotion they have attached to their hand. So
someone got 3-bet and folded too many times. Now they're never folding a set because their hand's too good.
Exactly. If you guys would like to be a part of the Who's in the Muck segment, please submit your own hand in our Discord channel. You can hit hashtag Discord in the chat, or you can head to @onlyfriends_pod. It's the pinned comment. Follow that link. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Give us a little bit of love. Let us know what you think about these In the Mucks. Also, huge shout out to GTO Wizard for sponsoring the In the Muck segment. If you guys would like 10% off of a subscription to GTO Wizard AI, please follow the link in the description below or hit hashtag wizard in the oh my God, I almost said comment box. In the chat. Thank you, Jesus.
Matt, just real quick, what was the number you said that first was going to be for the PKO at the win?
I didn't say. I just said that
the difference between first and second
would not be 250K.
Yeah.
You are correct, because first is 225K plus the bounties.
Right.
So Becker,
what
in
are
this
the
case,
bounties?
I mean, they're progressive, but the minimum is 5K.
Right. The big point was that it's $1 million bounty pool, so it's almost impossible.
So Connor has to do push-ups?
Probably. There's an outside chance.
I can't wait to see the outlier.
That somebody ravages the entire tournament. It gets all the bounties and wins.
Would love to see
No,
it.
it's almost impossible. But basically what Conrad was arguing is that there would be a 25% portion of the prize pool difference between first and second. So in other words, they would have to have like 40% of the bounties total when they got heads up.
Yeah.
And then the winner would have to take half of those.
Right.
Which is, you know,
lot.
Pretty unlikely.
Yeah.
Pretty unlikely. Even then it wouldn't work. That would still be a 30-10 split.
Just better hope it's not Becker.
Yeah,
Right.
anyone but him.
Anybody out there in the PKO at the win, $30 bounty on Becker's head. I'm $30. I'll put it out there, okay? I'll put it out there.
He said $30.
I don't want to get. I don't want to. I don't want to actually. If I say a big number, then I feel like I'm actually altering the outcomes. But hey, I'll tell you what. There's a position open for Timestamp Bro and some Software swag in your future.
1 free month.
if you get Becker the fuck out of this PKO. All right, that's going to do it for us, squad. Thank you so much for rocking with us this week. Big shout out to Timestamp Bro one more time. Nick Seward, no longer Timestamp Bro. For now on, you put some goddamn respect on his name.
That's C-word.
That is Nick Seward, bracelet winner. We'll see you guys all Monday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific. Peace.
Later, squad.
Peace.